always, in general, a pretty good way to open things up here. Just because if you went for a straight up third base, chances are pretty slim that you got away with it. Just because, if you take a look at it, seriously, that is just bad. Taking either third base here. It's just...
There's just not a lot you can do as Protoss. I mean, you can wall off, but...
Oh. That is also unfortunate.
What happened?
Those two links that just slipped by.
Oh, yep. Did see that, but the mothership call coming back. Hey, guys. A bit late. I'm a little bit late, a little bit derpy. I got the stupidest AI in the whole game.
Yeah, he's not even bothering to fight with those links. He's just, no, you guys can do the job. I'm just gonna sit here.
Third hatch coming down for our Zerg player. Mothership Core's AI reminds me of the Reaver from StarCraft 1, where it will be attacking things directly underneath it, but then a Hydralisk will shoot it from 6 miles away where all the other Hydralisks are, and it's like, well, screw these things underneath me. I'm going to attack the things that can completely destroy me. And then it just gets killed, and I get really mad. Warp Prism. We got a Warp Prism coming out from the Protoss player. And an Immortal immediately up behind this. It's rallied to within his base, so we might actually see Immortal drops. Oh no, he's going to send it straight out now, so just, I'm going to shut the hell up.
Warp Prism play, especially since their latest buff, always is awesome. I love Warp Prism play, especially if you make it count, if you make some good drops and maybe also get some damage done.
It did get spotted, but it's I mean, it doesn't matter. At this stage of the game, he's still going to be able to get some damage done. Only warping in 2 Zealots, probably because of the mineral cost more than anything.
Probably
actually,
just
no, it's just because he's got 2 gateways. Yeah, usually we have more at that point, but yeah, these Zealots are going to go unchecked for a while, and if he starts warping in more, he might get some serious economic damage here, force some roaches out or something. I don't actually know what yep. There is no roach barn. Oh yes, there is. Okay, I thought I saw it come down earlier, and the Warp Prism takes off, but there's still a Zealot being incredibly annoying, and Zealot does beat Roach one-on-one, but not 3 roaches, unfortunately.
You are a little bit derpy today, I have that weird feeling. Anyways.
Oh, man. I'm usually pretty on the ball, but today it's it's not going too well. I didn't even spot the Roach warrant.
4 more gateways are going to be constructed for Daredevil here. That will make it a total of 6. Which is something awesome if you have 6 gateways. That's always cool. So we might very well see a 2-base timing here out of Daredevil. Where on the other hand, of course, BSK is now starting to slowly but steadily produces roaches. It's already sitting at 60 workers, which is a good count, especially if you're just on 3 bases. Also going to get his +1 missile attacks, indicating that he's probably going to be more or less relying on Roach Hydra, maybe even. Now we have the push out here also with the Wolf Immortals in the Warp Prism. Daredevil actually can make a lot of things happen here. Nice time up there, slowing down the roaches, and especially with the Immortal support behind all of that, he can do a lot of damage. But now we have a couple of links. But of course, with the +1 upgrade for the Zealots, they work actually pretty well here.
Yeah, they're really deadly. This is actually Naniwa's timing, like I was talking about. This is the exact Naniwa build with those warp gates coming online just as the attack starts, but it's about a minute and a half late. Now roach production is just going to be out of control. Those Immortals microing really well into that Warp Prism with nothing to shoot the Warp Prism down. So that's really going to help this attack, but I don't think he's going to be able to stop it. There's 3 base versus 2 base and just so much roach production. So he now has this base open.
The thing is,
we'll see what he can get done.
This would be extremely nice what Daredevil is doing right here. If he had a second base behind, or a third base behind it, sorry. Because right now he's forcing just so many units. And if he had a third base right now, he could say, well, I forced so many units, I can now hop into producing a lot of workers, especially with my free Nexi, and he would just be fine. But with no third base behind that, that is basically an all-in. And now the first Immortal
He's also
died.
Yeah, he's slipping massively on his macro. He's got plenty of chrono, so many resources. There's not a single Immortal coming out, and that was... I don't understand what happened. It seems like maybe he forgot that he had the Robo, because if he was constantly rallying and producing Immortals on top of all those Zealot warp-ins, he was doing a lot of worker damage. He was denying the 3rd from mining, which is huge against a 3-base Zerg. That Zerg was going for a 3-base timing, late timing, maybe Roach Hydra or something, and he's shut down an entire base worth of economy. So you know, I felt like he was ahead, but the follow-up wasn't there because he wasn't producing tech or units, even though he had the resources. And I think Elmo's been distracted by trying to get us into the next game. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Just ask Temnotal.
I'll just continue to I'll just continue to rant. Yeah, so that timing is so very, very, very powerful against Zerg, especially greedy Zerg. If that had have hit at the timing that it was built to hit at when those first zealots pushed into the third there, started cutting off from the second base. If at that time he had 2 Immortals, the Warp Prism, and those 6 gates come online as the build is, that would have been horrendous. Would have been a holocaust. But because he was so late, the Roach production really kicked into gear. There was enough saturation on 2 bases just to continually pump out Roaches. Still, it wasn't an all-in. Like, he has so many gates and still so many resources that he could have just pulled back with whatever he had left and started to macro.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, especially, I mean, he had the minerals behind all of that to maybe secure a third Nexus. And if he did so, I mean, he could have just said, well, I forced so many units. By the way, I just said the same thing a couple of moments ago. I just forced so many units that I'm fine right now. And
yeah, definitely.
I mean, he had the minerals. He was sitting at like 800 minerals by the time he GG'd out. So if he just maybe went for a Nexus, like, right as he was pushing out, that could have worked extremely well.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think early GGs are pandemic at the moment, especially in the Korean scene. You see a lot of games that are, you know, they've lost a major push that they thought was going to work, and they immediately quit. And I mean, I've seen, especially recently in WCSKR, with Artosis and Tasteless casting a couple of games where they were like, you know, and he's going to fall back and macro up, and then they just GG out. And you're like, what? But you only lost like 2 medevacs and some Marines. What was that about? But I think maybe he felt like he was in an unwinnable position, knew that timing was so off, he just wanted to restart, go on to the next.
Yeah. If you are looking carefully at your screen right now, you can see we already are sitting in the next lobby. And that is just perfect timing. Right as we finished our game here, Temnotal was about to play his next one, and I just said, well, why don't you invite us? And he was like, yeah, sure, man. And there we are. And of course, if you're watching right from the get-go here, you know that I'm probably now one of Temnotal's biggest fans, just because he's such a nice guy.
So we're at PvP on Neoplanet S. This is going to get ugly, and I love that. But StarCraft is all about really just getting up in the face of your opponent and making sure that he knows you're his bitch. Wait, other way around. You're his bitch. He's your bitch. Oh god. Oh god, this is a disaster. This isn't going well at all. My English has decided to abandon me after a week of not casting a single thing. So
it's fine, man.
Bear with me.
Anyways, introducing our 2 heroes of the day here, spawning in the bottom left hand side of Neoplanet S Belshir Vestige LE. Check the beauties if you didn't get that, insider. It is going to be the Red Protoss player from WWMCZ. It is Daisy.
And in the top, did you introduce both players or just the one?
No, just go on.
Okay. In the top right-hand corner, spawning as the Blue Protoss, is Temnotal, who is on a winning streak. I think he got a series handed to him, unfortunately, because his opponent had to go. No, that was Daredevil.
That was Daredevil.
Never mind. Jesus.
It's okay.
Yeah, it is okay. It's just kind of funny. So yeah, looking forward to this. We got 1 gas for both players. Just as a little side note, there's this one little pet peeve I have where players build their gas at the closest gas to the ramp, so it's really easily scouted. I don't get why people do that. Like, every pro I know I've ever spoken to gets really uppity about people who don't build their gas as the far away gas because it's so important, the gas scouting timing. And, you know, if you can put it in that further back base, there's less chance that they will see it. But, you know, it's just a pet peeve that I thought would kill time while we see other things happen.
Yeah, I mean, that's of course a nice point, but if you don't have any units to deny scouting, then your opponent will always scout both gases. Of course, that only what you mentioned there is completely right, but it pretty much only comes into play if you have like one marine that could kill off the scouting SCV. Sorry, got distracted there a little bit. Yeah, both players opting so far pretty standard-esque here, going for pretty standard openings here. Gas timings were a little bit different though, but overall it is pretty much now evening itself out.
Yep, pretty much a mirror at the moment, and I mean, I'm feeling very aggressive play here. Someone's going to get, I think both going to go tech, probably DTs versus Blinkstalkers, something along those lines. Just because there's no expansions yet, double gas, or max saturated gas no less. Mothership core out, all that sort of good jazz. So, and we've got this pylon in the top right-hand corner of Temnitol's base, and there comes the Twilight Council, and something will be coming up for Daisy any minute now. And we'll see what he's got in store.
Temnitol just had his probes misrallied, so there were just two workers sitting right next to the Twilight Council that were just not doing anything. But by now he has of course realized.
That's a bummer.
And
they're both going for a Twilight Council tech. So,
yeah.
What do you think? Blinkstalkers versus Dark Templar. Was I right in my initial guess, or do you think maybe double Blinkstalker, double Dark Templar, maybe just charge zealots?
I think, of
Obviously
course,
charge zealots.
Dark Templars are always a thing, but I think both players are going to go for Blinkstalkers here. Just because New Planet S is just the premier map for Blinkstalker or Reaper play in general. Just because Daisy's lagging. Just because you have so much cliff area. I mean, look at that. There's so much area where you could blink into the main base. And both players, as I said, opting for exactly that thing.
Yep, double blink going down. In Chrono, this is going to be really nice. I'm really excited to see what happens here. My from my experience, mixing in a bit of zealots with Blink Stalker play is the winning move. Whoever has the more zealots wins, because zealots can't be ignored by Blink Stalkers, which means that the Blink Stalkers can just go to town on the stalkers of your opponent.
Meaning, of course, that both players have equal stalker counts, because if you just have, let's say, 2 Blinkstalkers and 10 Zealots, then of course your opponent's Blinkstalkers might just eventually kite you into eternity, and nothing will happen
absolutely.
at all.
It's usually just like 2 or 3 that make the big difference.
Yeah.
And we are going to see very early aggression here. We do have a Nexus, an offensive pylon coming down from Temnitol, so he's going to make the first move, which is actually... they're both going to make the exact same move at the same time, with an offensive pylon coming down in the main base of Daisy, of Temnitol and Daisy at the same time, although the Temnitol's offensive pylon is actually in the natural. I kind of prefer, because it'll be harder to snipe out, though Daisy does have a backup pylon in that right-hand third, so...
I mean,
left-hand third, sorry.
Pylon is right in Temnitol's main base. And with Temnitol now pushing forward, Photon Overcharge is of course being activated, but of course the Mothership core eventually will fall down, and Daisy, as a counter aggression to this, is warping in a couple of cells with that warp impulse that I just Let's try it again. With that warp impulse that I just what's the word?
I'm not sure.
Mentioned.
But really nice move there. Mentioned, yeah, by Daisy, warping in those zealots, distract now. The aggression from Temnitol has completely shut down, as he has to deal with that at home, with the stalkers from Daisy blinking down on the low ground. Focus firing so many stalkers, and a lot of stalkers died very quickly, and the distraction from those zealots, I just think he knew that he was outmatched in that game. God, I love PvP. It's so aggressive. Like, it's seriously, easily the most aggressive matchup right now, because you get cutthroat, deadly openings all the time. It's Blinkstalkers versus Dark Templar, or Immortal drops, or Storm drops. It's something ridiculous. And then if both players survive, you get about like 6 minutes of lull time, and then just death, horror, and destruction. High tech, just crazy gas, all-ins, and all sorts of good stuff. I don't know why people complain about PvP right now. It's amazing.